Almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. Biggest hoax in human history. Our maybe the greatest mind, Nikola Tesla, had a noble goal more than 100 years ago to bring to the world clean, unlimited, and free energy. The pyramids are huge energy amplifiers. How do you feel here? And we're getting the same answer. We feel like we are at home. Okay, I suggest we start. Hello everyone. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you to the organizer for having me here at the foot of the pyramid mountain Rtanj in eastern Serbia. And I congratulate on the second edition of the Pyramid Festival. I've been researching pyramids and megalithic sites for 40 years, and I have concluded that almost everything they teach us about the ancient history is wrong. The origin of man, civilizations, and pyramids. And even though I've been investigating pyramids and megalithic sites around the world for so long, I realized that I know almost nothing about them. I don't know who really built Egyptian pyramids, or Chinese, or those in Cambodia, Bolivia, Peru, Indonesia, or Australia. I don't know who were really the builders of Stonehenge in the UK, Karnak in France, Alestenar in Sweden, Ruj Melhiri in Israel. I don't know who shaped more than 1,000-ton blocks in eastern Lebanon, or who built cities today on the bottom of the Pacific floor, Yonaguni Monument near Japan. Our knowledge is very weak, but it should not stop us of researching. I was asked to talk about the Balkan Pyramid Network. And let me go straight to the head. Rtanj. People often ask me if Rtanj is a pyramid. Rtanj is a natural limestone mountain. But actually it's not so simple. It has three-sided pyramidal top called šiljak. It's very regular pyramid geometry, not four-sided like majority pyramids in the world, but three-sided. Rtanj does not have artificial construction materials. You cannot see concrete blocks or granite or limestone blocks like elsewhere in the world. But Rtanj has some very specific and intriguing features. You've heard about some planes flying over the Rtanj, and all of a sudden all the instruments were frozen. Why? Because of the unusual magnetic field above this pyramidal top. Secondly, the corners are very distinctive, very obvious. Mother Nature does not make corners like that. The next, if you go from the top, there is a tunnel going straight down in very hard limestone, 90 degrees, and then again 90 degrees down. It would be hard to imagine that man from the Neolithic or Paleolithic times had advanced tools to shape something like that. The next one, you heard about many endemic plants that grow only on this mountain. For endemic plants, you need special, different energies. Water from the Rutan mountain is also very special. It is energized, structured, high vibrating water. You should have some tunnels below Rtanj mountain. The nearby tops of the hills also create very specific triangle. And most importantly, our crew few years back, using energy instruments, measured energy beam on the very top of Šiljak, which is 28 kilohertz frequency. Now, it exactly matches the energy energy beam on top of the Bosnian pyramid of the sun, which is also 28 kilohertz frequency. Why is this frequency important? Our genius mind of Nikola Tesla, 125 years ago, built famous Wardenclyffe Tower in the state of New York. He has done several experiments, and then he wrote in his diary, I found a way to send unlimited quantities of energy, thousands of horsepowers, from one planet to another, regardless of their distance. And the frequency he was using was 28 kilohertz. As a matter of fact, this is the best frequency to transport the energy, to transport the information. So, when thinking about Rtanj, obviously there is something much, much more than just a natural mountain. Of course, humans, as we know them, have not shaped this mountain. But this is not the only case where we have pyramidal shape. For example, Western Tibet, the holy mountain of Kailash. It has 4 sides, not 4 triangular faces, but 4 sides, with a very regular and precise orientation to the cardinal points, east, west, north, south. And if allowed, but it is not, we would probably measure existence of similar energy beam on top of the Kailash mountain. So it seems that somebody in distant past knew that when you have the shape of the pyramid, when you have certain structures or even hills and natural mountains, also similar shape, when you have certain layout, usually following the elements of sacred geometry, then you have measurable energy phenomena. When we think about the pyramids, we have been programmed in our schools and through the media that pyramids are built in Egypt and Mexico. And that's wrong. They're telling us that Egyptian pyramids were used as tombs for the pharaohs. And that is wrong also. According to the non-scientific sites like Wikipedia, Encyclopedia Britannica, Smithsonian Institute, National Geographic, and other media trash, they are telling us that there are 118 pyramids in Egypt, and they were all used as tombs. Well, I have personally visited and investigated 155 pyramids in Egypt. Not a single one has a mummy. So where the pharaohs were buried? In the Valley of Kings, which is 600 kilometers to the south, Luxor, Karnak, Abydos, Dendera, Thebes, Memphis, not in the pyramids. The time will show that claims by Egyptologists, archaeologists and historians, supported and created by English elites, and also supported by Hollywood movies about Egyptian pyramids being tombs, is the biggest hoax in human history. In 21st century, we need to apply science to get the real answer. Who really built pyramids around the planet? When, how, and why? In the last 20 years, we have done more at the Bosnian Pyramid Project than Egyptology in 200 years. The reason why? Pyramids are not archaeological project only. It should be interdisciplinary scientific project. Classical sciences, archaeology, Egyptology, geology, biology, paleontology, plus high-tech georadar, satellite, geothermal, geophysicists, plus energy measurements by real scientists, physicists, nuclear and quantum physicists, engineers, electrical, sound, telecommunication engineers, medical doctors, spiritual scientists, people who can feel. So once we approach the pyramids like that, then you can start getting the answers. Back in 2005, while I still lived in the United States, in Houston, Texas, I came to the town of Visoko in central Bosnia to visit the local museum. But what really caught my attention was this, everybody called it a hill, because it was covered by forest and soil. But I could see very obvious 4 sides, 4 triangular faces, 4 corners, the same slope from bottom to the top. I took compass, it showed me that those 4 sides perfectly matched the cardinal points, east, west, north, and south. In my mind there was no doubt. It was an artificially made pyramid which after thousands of years got covered by soil vegetation. Well, people know about Egyptian pyramids that they are in desert or Peruvian. True, but the climate is different. However, all Chinese pyramids, 250 of them, pyramids in Indonesia, Gunung Padang and the others, Cambodia, Koh Ker Pyramid, more than 100,000 pyramids in Central America, built by the Mayan civilization, in today's Mexico, Guatemala, Honduras, El Salvador, Belize, they are all covered by soil and vegetation. Once you learn that, then you can much easier recognize pyramids around you. I offered cooperation to the government bodies, like Department of Archaeology at the University of Sarajevo. They rejected me. They said, we know every square feet of Bosnia, we don't have pyramids. We don't know 95% what is under the grass and soil. I went to the National Museum. They told me, oh, we never had pharaohs in Bosnia. Therefore, we cannot have pyramids. I realized that I talked to the people who live in the 19th century with their state of mind. So I established a non-profit foundation under the name Archaeological Park Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun Foundation. And in the last 20 years, this has become the most active archaeological site in the world without a government money. Vision, enthusiasm, a lot of volunteers, and the archaeological tourism. And this is what we have concluded. We have a complex of at least 6 pyramids that we named the Pyramids of the Sun, Moon, Dragon, Earth, Love, and the 6th pyramid, 2 tumuli. Tumulus in archaeology is a conical artificial hill. And we discovered 7 entrances in the prehistorical underground tunnels. So far we cleared 3.6 kilometers of those tunnels. But this is just the beginning of the story. We suspect there are at least 100 kilometers of those tunnels. How many of you visited Ravni tunnels in Bosnia? How many of you? Okay, some of you. Thank you. The message for the rest of you. The Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun is much taller than the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Egyptian, 146.6 meters. Bosnian, 368. How do we know, despite the forest? Well, we have applied the most modern technology called LIDAR or LIDAR technology. 368. Orientation to the north. All the pyramids in China, Peru, Bolivia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Egypt, Sudan, oriented towards the cosmic north. So far we thought the best orientation is the Great Pyramid of Egypt. Error from perfect north, 0 degrees and 3 minutes. Well, the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun has an error of 0 degrees, 0 minutes and 12 seconds, the most precise on the planet. Why would ancient builders oriented the sides of the pyramids to the cosmic north and the cardinal points? Egyptologists, archaeologists, they don't know that. When you hear from them, oh, this is for ceremonial reasons, or this is for the religion reasons, well, you can be sure that they have no clue what they're talking about. Independent researchers like Graham Hancock, Buval, Schock, and the others, they know that also because they read, but they don't know why. And the reason why, they don't have an engineering mind. Tesla, more than 100 years ago, said everything is energy. And many people before and after him. And indeed, our planet, if spherical or flat, doesn't matter, is an energy. Two strongest energy flows are north-south and east-west. You build four-sided pyramid, you're perfectly oriented. It initiates the movement of the energy within the pyramid. In Egypt, so far, they discovered 3 chambers. All 3 chambers are on the way of this energy flow, so-called queen, kings, and unfinished chamber. So, pyramid energy was affecting whoever was in those chambers. So now we are coming to the major questions. The age and the real builders. When we started excavation in Bosnia, 1 meter below the soil, we started discovering blocks, rectangular, square, one on top of each other, 2 rows, 4 rows. We have analyzed those blocks, samples we sent to 7 institutes for constructions and materials in Italy, France, Czechoslovakia, Bosnia. They all told us it was an artificially made concrete. When you have concrete, you can measure the quality of the concrete based on 2 elements. The first one is hardness. Harder the concrete, better quality. Our concrete today 10 to 60 megapascals. 60 made in Germany, made in US. Concrete from the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun from 73 to 155. We cannot, in 21st century, make such a good quality concrete, like the ancient builders. So they were more advanced. The second element is the water absorption. If water can get inside the concrete during the winter, it freezes. And the ice has a tendency to expand and concrete breaks. That's why you need to keep water absorption very low. Our norms today, in 21st century, up to 3%. Bosnian pyramid, only 1. Superior. So now we can see that the builders were superior. The next question is how old? When? Today we use 3 different methods in determining the age. One is radiocarbon dating. The other one is luminescence analysis. The third one is uranium thorium analysis. In the case of Great Pyramid of Egypt, they applied only 4 radiocarbon dating after hundreds of years. Why? Because all 4 were showing results much older than the era of the pharaoh Cheops or Khufu, 4,550 years. And then they stopped because it changes what they thought it was right. In the case of the most popular mainstream project in Turkey, it's called Göbekli Tepe. Only 4 dating by Dr. Klaus Schmidt, 10,000 BC or 12,000 before present, that's radiocarbon, or calibrated date 13,600. Wikipedia gives you 11,600. It's wrong. And then they stopped. Why? It changes the human history. In the case of Bosnian pyramids, we have done 28 radiocarbon dating, 12 luminescence analysis, 7 uranium-thorium analysis. The results, Bosnian pyramids are over 30,000 years old. What do they teach you in schools about the age of human civilizations? We were told it was about 5,000–6,000 years old. First Sumerians, 6,000, and then Babylon, Akkad, Assyria, Hittite, ancient Egypt, India, China. Wrong. This is just the last cycle of humanity. Before this one, there was another one which ended 12,000 years back with the end of the last ice age and huge global catastrophes. Before that one, there was another one, 18,500, and another one, 32,000 years back. Huge solar flames were burning the surface of the planet. Humanity, plants, animals, they were disappearing from the face of the planet. And then 55,000 years back. Now that one is strange, because we can see that somebody was producing temperature of more than 1,000 degrees. Only thermal nuclear war could cause that. And really, when we see sites in today's Pakistan and India, Mohenjo-Daro, Harappa, and the others, those cities were simply destroyed by high temperature. War, 55,000 years back. And the last one, 74,000 years ago, a huge volcanic eruption in Indonesia. For hundreds of years, people could not see the sky. As a matter of fact, the number of people was reduced to only 1,000. And those 1,000 people were our ancestors. So see, in the last 100,000 years, we've had 5 huge global catastrophes. Every time this catastrophic event comes, more than 99% of humans disappeared. And then they need to start from the beginning. It's going to happen to us also. Every time people start from the beginning, they think that they are the first one. What we think today is that we are the most intelligent, the most advanced, and the most beautiful. And we are wrong. Once we are gone, and it's going to happen within a very short period of time, those who survive, they will be making the same mistakes, thinking that they are the first one and the most intelligent. In schools, they teach us about the linear development of humanity. 10, 20, 30,000 years ago, we were primitive cavemen. Wrong. It's cycle after cycle after cycle. So, what is the true purpose of pyramids? This is our conclusion. The pyramids are huge energy amplifiers. They amplify the energy. They amplify existing natural energy sources. Below the Bosnian pyramidal sun, we have huge iron plate. Iron generates electromagnetic field. The pyramid pulls this field up, amplifying it. How do we know? Because we have measured. There's an instrument to measure it, oscilloscope, EMF, and the others. So, at the base of the pyramid and at the top, the energy is 50 times stronger. Pyramid amplifies. Secondly, under the Bosnian pyramids, we have underground water flow. Water moves, releases negative ions. They are very beneficial to our body. The pyramid amplifies the concentration of negative ions. Those of you who visited the tunnels, you heard our guides telling you the stories about negative ions, that the values that we measure are the highest on the planet, the most beneficial on the planet. The next one, under the pyramid, second underground water flow. Between the two, there is a charge, voltage, electricity. The pyramid pulls this electrical field up and getting it through the network of tunnels to the very top as the energy beam, which is 28 kilohertz frequency. The next one, during the excavation, we've discovered a lot of quartz crystal on the surface of the pyramid and in the tunnel. Quartz crystal has at least two features. The first one is to amplify the energy, and the second one is to transform the energy from one form, in our case electromagnetic field, which we measure, to another one through the so-called piezoelectrical effect, to the ultrasound, which we also measure. And we measure frequency of 28 kilohertz. In science, it is known as the levitation frequency. So now you see how the ancients knew where to locate the pyramid. They knew the power of a pyramid, its energy amplifier, and they were able to manipulate with different forms of energy. And indeed, everything in our life is about the energy. Electricity, fuel, but the way we do it is wrong. In the last 150 years, we can see those monsters who elegantly call themselves elites that actually own the major energy sources: coal, dirty energy; oil, dirty and limited energy; nuclear, dirty, contaminates everything, limited. And all these energy sources are very expensive. So those monsters, by owning the energy sources, they try to own all the resources on the planet. And indeed, 3,000 super billionaires, which is 0.0025% of our population, own more than 90% of the resources. And 90% of normal, good intentional people struggle to pay the bills from first of the month to the next first of the month. It's not problem 8 billion people like they try to convince us. The limited resources are not problem. The problem is unfair distribution. This planet can have at least 50 billion people. It's not problem in number. 8 billion people, you can place all of them in the state of Texas and give them 1,000 square meters of land. Or you can put all of them in Iran, if they want to go to Iran. So that's not the problem. Problem is that very few has so much. And because of that fact, we have hunger around the world. As I talk now, every 3 seconds, one child dies in the third world countries of hunger. Every 3 seconds. One child just died in Mali, another one in Gabon, another one in Chad, another one in Niger, another one in Nigeria, another one in South Sudan, another one in Sudan, another one in Ethiopia, another one in Somalia, another one in Djibouti, another one in Yemen, and so on. If somebody is looking at us from above, what they can conclude about us? We think that we are advanced technological society? No. We are very aggressive. And plus, what we do to the same species is shameful. We let other people live in poverty and hunger, while the others have hundreds of billions which they cannot spend. So when thinking about the pyramids, they want to tell us that they were built as tombs and they belong to the past. Wrong. Pyramids were energy amplifiers, energy machines. They belong to the present and the future, because from pyramids we have clean, unlimited, and free energy after the initial investment. Our maybe the greatest mind, Nikola Tesla, had a noble goal more than 100 years ago, to bring to the world clean, unlimited and free energy. So once he started with his experiments in Colorado Hills and New York, he would be going to his mecena, JP Morgan. Oh, I found a way for free energy transportation. I found free energy sources, and so on. The response? JP Morgan would be buying his patents, putting them in a drawer, never to see the daylight. Why? He told him several times, how can I sell the free energy and make money? So this is what it's all about for them. Imagine the world with free energy. No more equipment for oil and gas exploration. No more oil tankers and no more ecological catastrophes. No more refineries. No more petrochemical industry. No more pharmaceutical cartels and pharmaceutical mafia. No more food industry with poisoned additives. No more water industry and poisoned additives. The world would change for the better. Free energy is the first pillar of the free society, and fair distribution of the planetary resources is the second pillar. Based on those two pillars, we could build society which is based on justice. I'm hoping that day will come. Going back to the pyramid, on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun, 5 international scientific teams of physicists and engineers at 5 different times from Croatia, Serbia, Italy, Finland, and Germany, using their own equipment, measured the same phenomenon. This energy beam that starts at 4.5 meter radius expands to 20, 4.5, 20, 4.5, 20, and the strength of signal is getting stronger and stronger as it moves away from the pyramid. In science, this phenomenon is called the scalar waves. Russian physicists in the last 50 years have been researching this phenomenon, concluding that scalar waves move quicker than the speed of light. So, the first potential purpose of pyramid energy is the communication device on very, very long distances. The second purpose, those of you who were in the tunnels, you remember that you could breathe so well. If you go to the coal mine after 20, 30 or 50 meters, lack of oxygen. But you go to Bosnian pyramid tunnels, 200, 500, 800 meters, you breathe better and better. Not very logical. But nothing in Bosnia is logical. People with the respiratory problems, asthma, bronchitis, they go to the tunnels, they breathe so well. After 5, 6 times, they don't need air pump, inhaler, no more. People with a high blood pressure, it gets normalized. People with a high glucose in the blood drops 5, 6 points. People with the tumors and some very serious diseases, we can follow their excellent improvement in health. Why is this happening? What we do, we measure. It's a combination of 10 elements. First 5 is the absence of all harmful radiations. Right now, here, living on the surface of Earth, we are exposed to, number 1, cosmic radiations. Some of them are harmful. Our body cells fight those enemies. In the tunnels, 20, 30 meters below the ground, no harmful cosmic radiations, no harmful natural radioactivity coming from underground. How do we know? Because we measure using a Geiger-Miller counter. No harmful geopathogenic radiations. What's that? Underground water flow, you have a bed above, After 3-5 years, you get sick. Negative energy. Hartmann intersections. Every 2 by 2.5 meters intersections. If we have a bed above, we can't sleep. We get tired in the morning. Curry's intersections, Schneider's intersections. They don't teach us about it in schools. They don't know, and they don't want to know. But the ancients, they knew about it, and they knew how to neutralize those different harmful radiations. Well, in the tunnels, no geopathogenic radiations, no signal for the mobile phones. We can't live without phones today. I understand that. But every time we talk, for example, 15 minutes talk, we can notice that our hand becomes hot, our ears red, and during that time, 150,000 brain cells got burned. They are gone forever. In Bosnia, we have this guy, Mujo. Well, Mujo can say, well, I don't care about 150,000 because I have 5 billion brain cells. Yes. But 150,000, 8 o'clock, 100,000, 10 o'clock, 200,000, 12. Today, 1 million. Tomorrow, another million, and another million. And soon enough, we realize that we don't get any more intelligent. On the contrary, we process the information slower. That's the mobile phones, 3G, 4G, 5G. Tomorrow it will be 6G. Very bad for us. In the tunnels, no signal for the mobile phones, no signal for the Wi-Fi. So all the bad radiations that we are exposed to on daily basis, they are not present in the tunnels. For the first time in our life, our body cells can start doing their job. What is their job? To fix the problems in our body. They start detox process, they start regeneration process. It is so logical. The other 5 elements that we measure in the tunnels. Number 6, the best frequency of 28 kilohertz, electromagnetism. This is the frequency of our planet. Our planet is our mother. Whatever we get from our mother is good. Just in the tunnels, it's amplified. Number 7, the best frequency of the ultrasound, 28 kilohertz. I mentioned that levitation frequency. People feel light in the tunnels. Number 8, one very low frequency, 7.83 hertz. In science, it is called original Schumann resonance. 120 years ago, Tesla thought that our planet resonates at about 8 hertz. Austrian von Schumann, 50 years back, measured 7.83. When we got born, we are born at 7.83 hertz. When we think, the brain waves are formed at 7.83 hertz. So we are in balance. However, due to a lot of bad technology, especially in our cities, computers, laptops, tablets, microwaves, TVs, satellite dishes, mobile phones, not to mention American Project HARP. We have so much bad technology that it affects the Schumann resonance at that place. Contaminated cities like Sarajevo, 12 hertz, Munich, 15 hertz, New York City, 18 hertz. So, when we need to go to the big city, stress. And really, 18 hertz, we think it's 7.83, it's a disbalance. And disbalance creates stress. And stress generates more than 75% of our diseases. It starts with a high blood pressure, high sugar, cardiovascular, and bye-bye, we're gone. In the tunnels, 7.83. Every year we have hundreds of volunteers who come join us and help us uncover the pyramids and tunnels. They come from different countries, Peru and Germany and Mexico and US, Korea, Jordan. And we ask them the same question. How do you feel here? And we are getting the same answer. We feel like we are at home. And really, they are at home at 7.83 hertz. Just nobody's teaching us about that. Number 9, high level of orgone energy. William Reich and the others, before and after, they knew that there is some invisible form of the energy that you cannot measure, but it does exist. Some people call it life energy. In Eastern traditions, they call it prana or chi. Well, there is an instrument to measure organ energy. We have it. It's called experimental life energy meter. It works on the scale from 0 to 100%. Cities, 20% life energy. Villages, 50%. Tunnels and the Bosnian pyramids, 100%. That's number 9. And finally, number 10, negative ions. Negative ions are negatively charged particles. Basically, they are some extra electrons in atoms or molecules of oxygen. And they are free in the atmosphere, negatively charged. What they need is something positively charged, so they can connect. In my time, it would be like man and a woman. Today, everything is different, so it's... Well, so we have negative ions, and for example, dust. They are positively charged particles. They connect, become heavy, drop to the floor. So negative ions, they clean the atmosphere from the dust, which we otherwise breathe into our body. Microbes, bacteria, fungi, they are positively charged. Negative ions eliminate them also. Pollen, allergies, spring and summer, positively charged. Negative ions remove them. In other words, negative ions are not negative for us, they are very good and positive. More negative ions, better for us. In our homes, offices, 20, 30, 50 negative ions per cubic centimeter. That's nothing. You go to the cities, you go to Belgrade or Zagreb or Sarajevo, it's a little bit fresher, 100, 150. You go by the river, 500. Here is about 500. You go to the top of the mountain in the pine tree forest, 1,000. As a matter of fact, we do measure concentrations at the mountain of Igman, 750, in both January and June, Jahorina, 1,000, Bjelašnica, 950. Sarajevo, 150, here is 1,000, so at the mountain it is 6 times healthier. Of course it is. I didn't say anything new. But in the Bosnian pyramid tunnels, between 20,000 and 60,000 during the summer, and in the winter, with the less visitors, more than 100,000. This is the highest concentration on the planet. So now imagine those 10 elements, absence of all bad, harmful radiations, and presence of the best energy frequencies. When you put them together, tunnels are the safest and the healthiest place on the planet. No wonder that every year we have hundreds and hundreds of cases of healing testimonials. So, the second purpose of pyramid energy is to protect what is the most precious to us, our health. Number 3. The most important liquid in our life is called water. The medical authorities are telling us that our city water is healthy because it does not have microbes. They say viruses, I don't know about the viruses, but they don't have bacteria, they don't have fungi. Why? Because it's been treated with the chlorine, which is a poison. All our life we drink poison. We shower in poison. We cook on poison. Of course, people are getting sick. They don't know why. In some countries, they add fluoride. For example, in the United Kingdom, Republic of Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, 2/3 of the United States, Argentina, Chile. Why? Well, they're saying it's good for the, protection of the teeth. Really? Fluoride actually causes the tooth diseases. But that's the least problem. Until 50 years back, fluoride was used exclusively as the poison for rats, for the rats. When we consume fluoride, either through the toothpaste or water, it attacks our nerve system very aggressively, and it closes our pineal glands, which is our window to spirituality. Why is that important for the elites, for those monsters? Because they don't want us to know about the spirituality, and I will come to that. The next thing in our city water, we catch that water in the mountains, put it in the metal pipes. Water goes through metal pipes, it melts metal. So we drink traces of heavy metals. It comes to our kitchen through the plastic pipes. We drink plastic. So we drink chlorine, fluoride, heavy metals, and plastic. That's a poisoned water, energetically dead. Guess what? In the last couple of years, the medical studies have shown that the leading cause of cancers is plastic. During the abductions, they are finding microplastics in human heart and human brain. It has never been a case before. This is what they do to us. They poison us on a daily basis. The water from the pyramids that we found 5 tunnels with the water. It's not treated, does not have any microbes. Why? Because of negative ions. pH is excellent, 7.45. What is pH? 0 to 14, 7 is neutral. Below 7, acid, bad for us. For example, our city waters are usually 6.5 to 7. Some of the bottled water, 6. Some even 5, like Dasani, made by Coke. By the way, mentioning the Coke, those 2 biggest poisoners, Coca-Cola and Pepsi-Cola, their products, Coke, Schweppes, Tonic, and the others, have pH of 2.7. It is so acid for our body that it causes all kinds of diseases, including cancer. This is what we drink. Our blood is not 7, which is neutral. Our blood is 7.35 to 7.45. Pyramid water, 7.45. Like somebody calibrated it. So, third purpose of pyramid energy is to improve the molecular structure of the most important liquid in our life, the water. Number 4, the food. We've done experiments with the seeds of beans, and we kept 1 bag with the seeds at home. That was control group. 1 bag we put in the tunnels, 1 bag on the top of the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun. We left it for 15 days. And then we are checking the germinization process. How many seeds will start growing? Control group, 60%. So not every seed started growing. And we know that from real life. You buy the seeds, plants, fruits, vegetables, flowers. Not every seed will start growing, 60%. Seeds from the tunnels, seeds from the pyramids, 100%. And then we planted it in our most beautiful park near the tunnels. The pyramid seeds were growing 3 times quicker, richer, healthier. So, the pyramid energy affects the food. Number 5. During the Corona project, 2020 to 2022, they tried to convince us that the experimental, pharmaceutical, genetical product called vaccine is the solution for everything. Well, being vaccinated or not vaccinated, everybody was getting sick. And once you get sick, then the question is not the vaccine. The question is our immunity. Visiting the tunnels, raising our immunity level. You see how it's becoming so logical. Those huge complexes of pyramids in Bosnia, in Egypt, in Peru, in China, in Mexico, they were not used as the resting place for 1 dead body, king or pharaoh, but they were used from, all the communities, the living people, and they were supposed to last almost forever. It's becoming so logical. The next, we have noticed that the pyramid energy also affects our spiritual abilities. Now, spirituality is the word which is very often used everywhere. And people think of different definitions of spirituality. I like to define things. When I went to schools, they were telling me, spirituality it is like religions. Well, religion is one thing. I respect all of them. But spirituality is something else. Faith is another thing. But spirituality, for me, two aspects. The first one, spirituality is development of spiritual senses, so we can sense the world beyond the physical reality. What is physical reality? That one is based on our 5 physical senses. We can hear, we can see, we can smell, we can taste, and we can touch. 5 physical senses. But our physical senses are so limited. For example, what we can see are the frequencies of 7 colors. They start from red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. 7 colors that have been kidnapped by LGBTIQ movement today on their flag. But scientifically speaking, this is what we can see. And this is only 0.7% of all color frequencies around us and in the universe. So we actually don't see 99.3% of all events that are happening around us. We have eyes, but we are blind. What we can hear is called sound. We hear from 20 Hz to 20 kilohertz. Actually, as we are getting older, like myself, and maybe 1 or 2 of you here, we hear less and less with time, 19, 18, 15 kilohertz. If you are married 20 or 30 years, you don't hear your voice at all. But your wife does not hear you also. Everything above 20 kilohertz is called ultrasound. We cannot hear it, but we can measure it. It exists. Some animals, cats and dogs, they can hear some frequencies of ultrasound. And then after that they cannot. They cannot hear 50 kilohertz or megahertz scale or gigahertz. We cannot hear infrasound, very deep sounds, 10 hertz, 8 hertz, 5 hertz, 2. We cannot. What we hear is less than 1% of all sounds around us. We are not only blind, we are deaf also. So our physical world is so tiny. Everything around it is spiritual world. Imagine that we start developing some of the 30 spiritual senses. Then everything would change. We could see more, we could hear more, we could experience more. People who come to our tunnels, we ask them for one little experiment. Our guides ask them to open their hands around that big block, K2, ceramic block. They open the hands. Can you feel something? Yeah, I can feel something. I can feel tingling in my fingers. And indeed, we can feel the energy. This is not a physical sense. It's spiritual sense. With the practice, we can start seeing the energy. First, a little energy field around our fingers, around our hands, around our body. It's small. With the time, it's getting bigger and bigger, so we start seeing auric field. But this is just the first energy field around us. We have 7 of them. When we walk, we are between 8 and 10 meters in diameter. So we can start seeing the energies. With the time, we can start seeing the colors of energy. And every color means something. For example, the lower the frequency of the color, it means that we are at the lower vibration. If we have too much of the red color, it means that we are either aggressive, violent, there is something wrong with us. We live in a society where everything is based on words. on what we hear from people. We talk to the others and we tell them, for example, you know what? I'm the smartest man on earth. I'm the most intelligent. I'm the most beautiful. And I'm the modest man on earth. Well, we take it or we leave it. We can say whatever we want to say. But imagine that we can see energy fields around other people's bodies. Too much of red, this person can tell us whatever he or she wants, but you say, hey, this person is not for me. They have some serious problems. You see people with the green and the blue, healing energy, love energy, sharing. Yeah, this is a good person for us. You see the violet. Wow, look at the spiritual person. We can learn something from this person. White. Not only smart, but wisdom. So if we can see the colors, our world and our life would change. And we have the possibility to do that. Nobody's teaching us. That's spiritual sense. Exchanging the thoughts, telepathy, is also a spiritual sense. We don't develop it. Sometimes we are aware that we have it. For example, you left your wife in Belgrade, you come here, you dance until 3 a.m., you go home 6 a.m., half drunk, your wife is waiting for you. She doesn't need to say anything. You know exactly what she thinks. Telepathy. Telekinesis. We have the power to move the objects with the power of our mind. We don't use it. But we heard stories about the original people of America and Australia. Today they call them American Indians and Aborigines. In the case of US, on that soil, if people would not have rain for 2 or 3 months, they would have dance for rain. Rain dance. I witnessed such dances in Arizona. From blue sky, they would get clouds and the rain. In Australia, similar things. Just over there, they would have mantras. I don't call them aboriginal, I call them original people. When the English came a couple of 100 years back, they called them ab. Ab, it means non-original. Why do they call them non-original? So they can grab their lands, they can steal. English. So with the mantras, they would invite the rain, and the rain would come. This is the power of intention. We have those abilities. We don't develop them. And finally, teleportation. Can we move through space and time? Can our astral body move through space and time? Can our consciousness move? Do we have a soul? Can soul move in controlled way? There is a lot of literature out there about the clinical death. For example, hospital, there is very complex surgery. For 5 minutes, your heart has been stopped. What's happening during those 5 minutes of your clinical death? The moment the heart stops, soul is getting out of the body. Now you are above, close to the ceiling. You are looking down. It's your lifeless body, and you think, wow, if my body is there and I'm here, who am I? Am I that body, or am I something else? Of course, soon we realize that we are not the body, but the soul. And then I'm looking, I can see doctors, I can hear medical nurses. So now I realize not only that I can think, but I have senses. I can see, I can hear. The next moment you're thinking, can we move? For example, can I go to the next room? And just like that, you go through the wall and you are in the next surgery room. Wow. Can I go outside the hospital? Next moment we are at the parking lot. Okay, I can move through space. But can I move through time? For example, I'd like to know if Cleopatra VI was the most beautiful woman of all time. Next moment, we are near Cleopatra. Maybe she was not the most beautiful, but she had the best makeup ever. So now we realize we can move through space and time. We have no limits. No limits. This is a definition of freedom. To have no limits. And then we realize not only that, but the lifetime in that particular body is just one life experience. We have had many before that one. We are going to have many after this one. Not only on this planet, but other planets, other solar systems, other galaxies, and even other universes. So once you realize that the soul's lifetime can be measured by billions and billions of years, then you are convinced that there is no need for fear in our life. And while we are discovering the whole new world, the next moment surgery is getting over, they are finishing, tup, tup, your soul is coming back to your body, but we remember that we are free and that there is no need for fear in our life. Monday we are back to our office. On Mondays, bosses are always in bad mood and nervous. They start yelling at us like every Monday. Now, before considering our situation, let's say we are young, 30, we have wife, we have kid, we just got the loan, we purchased the home, we purchased the car, and if boss would say something, we would listen. Even if he was wrong, we would obey. They yell at us, we obey. We don't talk back. Why? Because of the fear. If they fire us, we're going to lose ability to pay the loan. We're going to lose the house. We're going to lose the car. We're going to lose savings. We're going to lose ability to go on vacation, to fund our kids' future and education. So we obey and we live in fear all our life. Fear in academia, fear in educational system, fear in the corporate world, fear in media. But we are beings born not to fear and afraid of everything in our life. The freedom is our divine right. It's our cosmic right. On this planet, we need to live lives with dignity. So this time, this particular Monday, boss started yelling at us. We are telling him, hey, stop, do not yell at me. He's saying, what? I'm going to fire you. I don't care. You won't fire me. I'm going to leave this nasty place. Stand up and you leave. Look for another job. Maybe you won't find it immediately. Maybe you'll have to sell that house and find a smaller place. But you will be happy with yourself, with your consciousness. And guess what? The pyramid energy helps us to develop spiritual senses. You see? They're telling us pyramids, past, one dead body. They're saying no. We need to revolutionarily change the narrative. Pyramids, communication, health, water, food, immunity, atmosphere, spiritual senses, everything that we need in our life. How does mainstream react even today, after 20 years, and so much of the scientific arguments about the Bosnian pyramids? How they qualified me? Pseudo-archaeologists, pseudo-scientists, pseudo-historians, pseudo-this, pseudo-that. Anti-vaxxer. Well, those who have media and corporate world, they don't like that. They don't want us to be free, they don't want us to be spiritual. Once we achieve the balance between spiritual and physical in this life, we become psychologically balanced and powerful people. We don't have bosses. During the Corona project, people felt helpless. They said, what can I do as an individual against the system, against the government, against the laws, against the rules, against the companies, against the police, against the ministries, against the army, against this and that. People felt helpless. But that's wrong also. What we can do, we keep our dignity and we keep our freedom of choice. Every one of us is like a little candle. If we ignite that little candle, the darkness will disappear around us. Imagine 100 of us. We ignite our inner candles. We make this place bright. And 100,000 people. And 5 billion good intentional, normal people. We change the world. We make darkness and evil disappear. This is the power in us. So thank you very much for listening to me. Koliko nam je sati? 12:15. Ako nema pitanja, hvala što ste došli, dođite, izvolite mi pita. One question, yes.
Yeah, can you please repeat the name of the place?
Can I please repeat the name of the place? Yes, Bosnian Pyramid District. But probably it'll be... But yeah, let's see what's gonna... Nothing. Then Bosnian pyramids. Visoko Bosnia, visoko Bosnia.
Have you been inside of the tunnels of this pyramid?
No. How long are those tunnels? How long are those tunnels?
Yeah.
How long? Do you know? Oh, you're talking about the ones that I mentioned. I did mention the major tunnel which goes from the very top down. The problem with that one is closed. You know, when they built that little church, later on people thought that there was some gold, you know, inside the church. They were removing the stones and they were filling up the hole, the tunnel. So now you cannot go through that tunnel no more. But it was mapped decades ago, and it goes like this, tip, tip, tip. It's very, very long, hundreds of meters. But there are a few more, I would say, cave-like openings. And for more tunnels, I don't know, in Rtanj.
If there is any chance to somehow...
To clean that?
Yeah.
Well, these rocks are very big. Sasha, how big are those rocks that used to fill the tunnels? Kad su bacali ono sa crkve pa dole.
It blocks like this one. Two person needs to take it.
And how do you go vertically down and
8 meters,
Is
2
there
meters,
any
4 meters.
scientific ways to like scan, let's say, make ultrasound
Yes,
scan
yeah.
of a mountain?
There is technology. Just those who research Rtanj, they need to bring technology. Georadars, SAR tomography, radar tomography. Yeah, there are ways to see what's below. That's how we discovered in Bosnia.
And what did Bosnian authorities tell you after you excavated all the
Well,
and everything?
you see, the cultural establishment, most of the archaeologists, historians, geologists, museum curators, they never came to the site, but they are still against. But the authorities, the governments, they know that this is very popular. We have tens of thousands, actually hundreds of thousands of visitors every year. So they know it's popular. So what they do, they give us permission to dig because we are registered for archaeology and science. But they don't give us money because of the pressure of archaeologists. They don't give us organizational help. They don't give us marketing help. They don't give us no help. But I said, that's fine. As long as I can research, we are fine. The rest of it, we're gonna, take care of that.
They were wrong.
You see, those people who consider themselves scientists, they never do that. They never admit they are wrong. They think they are the smartest. They think the science stops with them. That's why they become obstacles to further progress. We have to behave. Doesn't matter if we are 7 or 77 as students and ready to admit that there is more information to discover. It means progress. But if you think because you are rector or director of archaeological institute that you know everything, there you become an obstacle. Yes.
First of all, thank you for coming here and to make this event even more beautiful. I watched a lot of your videos, and in one video you were showing the recordings of pyramids with some specific camera that everywhere around this wave or this
Energy fields
are
horizontal.
yeah,
Yes.
all the pyramids they go up. So
Yeah.
I'm wondering, did you take a photo of Rtanj with that camera?
Sasha was doing that in the past. When you have pyramidal hills or structures, the interesting thing is that what is otherwise everywhere horizontal energy fields, valley and cities and natural mountains and seas, in the case of some of the pyramids we can see vertical energy fields. Why? Because of energy movement through the top. So this energy is hitting horizontal and they become vertical fields. And so yes, some of them, yes, we can see vertical fields, some of Egyptian pyramids, vertical fields. This is one of the methods to see if there is an energy movement.
So it's not a rule that every pyramid has those.
Actually, in Egypt, I found pyramids that are energetically dead. For example, step pyramid in Saqqara. Dead. Everything horizontal. Most of the temples dead. Kefren, vertical, alive.
Thank you also from my side that you're here. I have a question about the Anunnaki. Do you know something about the Anunnaki?
Zakaria Sitchin was a man who was translating clay tablets from Babylon. There are about 40,000 of them, most of them located in West Berlin during the Cold War. And he deciphered them, even though mainstream science is saying, oh, he was not able to do it, but he did. In his books, he explains the whole story. He's talking about another planet. It can be called 10th planet or 12th planet, that occasionally is coming to our star system, and then, very elongated path, and then going to another star system, coming back to us every 3,500 years. And that on this planet, which Sitchin called the Nibiru, there was advanced civilization that would come every 3,500 years when they got close, using some of our minerals, and especially gold. And it's been for the last more than 300,000 years that they've been visiting us. So in the beginning, they were extracting gold themselves. And later on, because it was hard labor, they had to go deep, especially in South Africa, in those gold mines. They decided to create a being that will obey their directions and instructions. And through unsuccessful and successful trials, they created a new species. They were using the most advanced animal, which is called Neanderthal. And they were adding their cosmic genes, and they got a new species that we call today Homo sapiens sapiens. In biology, there is an expression, missing link, because they can explain by the evolution everything from the Australopithec and Beijing man and so on until Neanderthal. And then you have totally new, intelligent and artistic species, us, which are even smaller than Neanderthal, but much smarter. If it was for the evolution, it would take another 7 million years. But it seems that somebody bridged the gap, creating us, humans. What was our role, according to Sitchin's books? Our role was to serve as slaves, to do the hard work for those who created us. And it's been like that more than 300,000 years. And it seems that those who he called Anunnakis, and who some of our communities called gods, with small g, that they've been visiting and revisiting for tens of thousands of years. In some places, like in Egypt, they found artifacts. This artifact, for me the most important one, is in Egyptian Museum in Turin, Italy, Torino. It's called Turin King List. In 11 columns, you can see in hieroglyphic symbols the list with the names and dates of all rulers. 3 phases. The last phase are the sons of gods, 5,100 years. Who are the sons of gods? The pharaohs as we know them. Dynasty number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, until 19. Number 4, Cheops, Khephren, Mykerinos, and so on. Number 3, Djoser, and the others. And some of those pharaohs would rule Egypt 10 years, 15 years, Ramesses II, 67 years. The phase before that is called demigods, semi-gods. And they would rule Egypt 200 or 300 years each. Not humans. And the phase before that are the gods. It is said in this papyrus that gods came from heavens of sky to heavens of earth 42,650 years ago. And they started ruling the earth 1,000 years each. 1,000 years each. So when we think about the true builders of Egyptian pyramids, obviously they were not primitive pharaohs and primitive slaves. But those who had the knowledge, if they lived 1,000 years, obviously they had technology to do that. At the same time, in Sumeria, we had another artifact called Sumerian King List. It's a huge stone with the carved names of their rulers. The first phase was gods also. They came to Sumeria 233,600 years ago. Alajar was ruling Sumer for 28,800 years ago. Alulim, 36,000 years. So, if you talk about the Anunnaki, this is your best guess about the physical proof of their existence. There are many more. We don't have time for that. For example, let me just give you an example. On those tablets, it was about the medicine, surgery, how the man was created, political system. Tens of thousands of years ago, in Sumeria, they had 2-dome parliament. 2-dome parliament. This is what we have today. in Bosnia, Serbia, America, two-dome parliament. But also, they had tablets with the astronomical data. For example, they were explaining the star cluster of Taurus, big Taurus. And they were giving a list of 100 stars with the distances from our star system to some of those stars. 89 light years, 105 light years, 200 light years. Most of those stars we cannot see with our naked eye. But they are here in those clay tablets. And how does the official science react? Oh, this is just bedtime stories, it's impossible, blah, blah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for everything. It's so beautiful to see you again. I wanted to share
Where did you see me before?
before at the pyramids.
In Bosnia.
Yes.
Good.
I was in 2021. I lived in Mexico for 2 years.
Where?
I lived in the jungle with a Mayan medicine woman. I
Where?
lived in
Which state?
Tulum.
Oh, in Tulum. Okay, that's
So I
nice.
did a pilgrimage around Mexico. Different pyramids kept calling me. I work with Kundalini energy, so I would just wake up and go.
So did you go to Koba? Did you go to Chichen Itza, to Merida, to
But
Uxmal?
the less famous one, actually, that I found on my path was Campeche.
Campeche,
Yeah.
state of Campeche, yes.
And so the Mayan abuela, she was already the grid connector, to say so, working with the pyramid energy. But she was the first one to tell me that she had a vivid vision of the Bosnian pyramid.
Nice.
And at the time, I didn't know because I lived in America for 10 years. I said, wow, we have pyramids in Bosnia. And she said, yes, and you should go there to connect these grids. So in 2021, I came there. This was just like a mission. I didn't know beyond me. And I brought rose crystal quartz. She said to activate the heart chakra here in Europe because it was the time of the COVID and so much here. And I just remember hiking up to the Sun Pyramid and sitting there at top of the hill and looking at the well that's there, you know what I mean. And I put the crystal there and I felt the completion maybe of my own journey and the new initiation. So since then, I've been coming back to the Balkans because I was born in Lika, where Nikola Tesla was born. And since the pyramid, since my visit, my life has unfolded in such beautiful ways that now I can be here and serve my purpose and speak with you and everyone else. So,
It's wonderful.
yeah.
Thank you very much for sharing. Good. Like I said, more than 100,000 Mayan pyramids, majority of them in Mexico and Guatemala. 97% still covered by forests, then the jungles. What do we know about the civilization based on 3% of their cities and temples and pyramids and bridges and terraces? Almost nothing. Now, Encyclopedia Britannica describes Mayans as the Neolithic culture. Neolithic, that's the Stone Age. Neolithic. They had such an advanced astronomy. They had 21 calendars. We have one. They had 21. Some of them, long counts, 5 long counts calendars. It's 25,700 years. And this is the time needed for our solar system to make circle within the Milky Way. Not around the Milky Way, but within. And we got that information after 100 years of telescopic measurements and computer processing. 100 years. They did not have telescopes or computers, but they knew that. And tell that they were, Stone Age level, it's shameful. But this is what they do to us. They program us to think that we are the only one, but we just began a few thousand years back. So we are still in infant stage, and infants, babies, they need those who's going to lead them. And this is how they justify their leadership in religions, in corporate world, in political world. We need to forget that. There are many civilizations before us that are much smarter, much more spiritually advanced. We need to open ourselves and be ready to learn. Anybody else? Yes.
From the side of the archaeological side of institution, let's say attacking it, did they ever invite you for an interview or something like that?
Archaeological institutions? No, they don't like me, you know. I'm the threat to the system. You know, back in 2006 when I started, this project was so popular. CNN was there when CNN meant something. Today they are just propaganda. But at that time CNN was there, CBS, MSNBC, BBC, everybody was there. And it was so popular. And when they are doing questionnaires about high schoolers, you know, when they finish the high school, they're interviewing them where they want to go. So every year you would have some people, oh, I'd like to go to medicine, electrical engineering, civil engineering, political sciences, economy, law. That year, 34% of people are saying, I'd like to go and study archaeology. And we did not have faculty for archaeology. Before that, history, archaeology were at 0.1, and now majority. So since I had connection with Egyptian universities and so on, so I offered to the Faculty of Philosophy to help them to establish the new course. They said no. They did start this faculty 2 years later, 2008, never asking any support or help from me. The first thing they tell the students is that Bosnian pyramids do not exist. If somebody mentions Bosnian pyramids, they're going to fail the exam. They won't be able to complete study ever. And I know several cases like that. So something problematic in their mind.
They never attack your points or the claims that
No,
you make. They attack
no.
you
Well,
first.
in science, what you do, you argue scientifically. For example, if we got results of the concrete from 7 institutes, and we publish our study, we publish it on our social media, in the books, in our conference proceedings, and in our peer-reviewed international journals. This is what we do. This is scientific way. What they do, they are saying, oh, it's impossible. This Osmanagich, you know, he's a lunatic, he's a nut, don't believe him, he's no expert. Okay, let's say I'm not expert. What does it have to do with the concrete? Why don't they go on the top and they do the measurements? I'll give them our, you know, organic pieces of materials, leaves and wood, and you do radiocarbon dating. And once you do it, then you can compare the results. This is called science. They don't do that. They don't have scientific arguments. They have just fear inside them that everything that they are teaching them and everything they teach the kids is wrong. They have fear. Meaning, they lived life for nothing. Their PhDs, their professorships, their books, wrong, wrong, wrong. So, I'm big threat for them.
Existential.
Yeah. But again, what is the problem to admit that there is something new? Everything I told you today, maybe I'm wrong 80%. But if I'm 20% right, then the human history in the future has a big problem. Okay. Anybody else? Yes, yes.
Go ahead.
Pričat ću na našem jeziku da bi se bolje razumeli.
Može.
Jer naš život je u suštini prost i jednostavan, a svojim željama ga komplikujemo. Pa onda ne razumemo zašto sve ovo radimo, odnosno zašto su piramide građene. Slušam te jako dugo vremena i prosto sam ponosan na tvoj rad koji činiš za sve ove nas koji se trude da volimo i da razumemo sve ovo što nam se pružuje. Ako piramide gledamo kao nešto najuzvišenije što ljudska tehnologija, odnosno tehnologija duše može da napravi, da stvori, onda možemo da kažemo, da uprostimo ljudima da su piramide samo tehnologija, odnosno sprava da spusti ono što je gore dole na zemlji. Jer ako gore u ionosferi ima najviše negativnih iona i to daje večnost života, mašine te u suštini samo, kako si pričao, teleportuju ono što je gore ovde dole na zemlju I onda ovde, što su veće, to je veća količina negativnih iona, odnosno veća količina svega toga što se spušta na zemlju. Samim tim jednostavno lečilište.
Nice. As above, so below. You know, there are many elements that I did not even mention. One of them is elements of sacred geometry. What is sacred? What is holy geometry? The ancient builders realized that if they apply certain numbers and certain geometrical shapes, that they can cause the movement of the energy. What are those numbers? Number pi, 3.14, number phi, golden number, 1.618. And the shapes, equilateral triangle, 3 Bosnian pyramids, sun, moon, dragon, equilateral triangle, hexagon, Fibonacci spiral. Some of you probably heard about this spiral or golden section spiral. Golden section spiral or Fibonacci spiral. In the case of Bosnian pyramids, what we can see, if you start from the top of the pyramid of love with the Fibonacci spiral, the top of the sun pyramid intersects with the spiral. Top of Temple of Mother Earth intersects with the spiral. Top of the dragon pyramid and top of the tumulus in Vratnica. The ancients were very careful how they're gonna lay out their structures. And like I said, it has always been about the energy. If we could see more, if we could see the energy movement staying above, we could see how the energy flows within the Bosnian Valley of the Pyramids. These are amazing stuff. And this Fibonacci spiral we can see in many elements from micro world, for example, our DNA, Fibonacci spiral, the seashells, spiral, Fibonacci spiral, human face from tip of nose, eyes, chin, forehead, Fibonacci spiral, to spiral galaxies. So we realize that the universal mind, God, Creator, He was using the movement of the energy to create the life, to create everything that we have around us. The ancient builders were repeating the same form, Fibonacci spirals, when they were laying out their structures. It's wonderful. Simple once you learned about that, but very effective. So what he just mentioned is completely right. As above, so below. And then everything is in cosmic balance and harmony. What we do is so wrong. Construction. You find a nice place in the downtown Belgrade. Wow, I'm going to make a lot of money. You build a building without even checking what kind of energy is up below. Why the people 100 years back or 2,000 years back never built anything? Because of bad energies. But today, they see a spot, wow, it's a good position, good location, let's build it, let's sell it, let's make money. And have many unhappy people in the future in that particular building. Anybody else? Yes?
What kind of pyramid is Rtan?
When did you come? That was my first part of the lecture. But let me continue. I did not tell you everything about Rtanj. Rtanj is a natural pyramidal mountain with a three-sided pyramidal top, shiljak. But it has some elements of pyramids, energy beams and certain very specific energies and frequencies. You know, when I was thinking about Rtanj, comparing to some other sites, I did mention Kailash. I did Kailash Kora, walking around Kailash for 2 days instead of 3. There are some other pyramid hills, you know, even in the Boka Kotorska, here in Montenegro, in Italy, in Turkey, you can see such a beautiful, regularly shaped hills. You know that they are natural, there is no artificial construction material, but they are beautifully shaped. Mother Nature does not do that. The only way you can explain the flat side, roughly triangular, is when glaciers move going down, make it flat. But it cannot make 2, 3, or 4 sides, obviously. The only thing I can think of, they are not humans, but there are most probably some very intelligent natural energies, probably today invisible to our naked human eye. Actually, let me finish with this story. What happens when we die? We mentioned this, our soul. Our soul in the life between the lives. What is our soul doing? Going back to its own group of souls. It's not just one soulmate. It's between 20 and 30 souls. And usually half of them are always present in our lives, in the form of our neighbor or partner or sister or cousin, some important people in our lives. So we go there and then we continue learning process. We are learning during this lifetime and this body and 5 physical senses, but then we continue learning. And part of the learning process, of course with those who are supervising us, they are taking us to different planets. And one of the first lectures is how to influence the material world. There are still some planets, the beginning stage, with no life, no, 3 kingdoms, only 1 kingdom, only mineral kingdom, no plant kingdom, no animal kingdom, no human kingdom. So, what they do, they try to teach you how to influence the landscape, so you are able to move the stones, to shape the hills, and then you are able to watch what's happening when you have some very regular shapes, pyramidal shapes, among others. And then you place them in a certain ratio, triangles, Fibonacci spirals, and so on. So this is part of the lectures. It seems to me that millions of years back, our planet was such polygon, such an experimental field for those souls to play with some of our mountains. So this is as close as I could get in explaining cases like Rtanj, pyramidal mountain.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes.
So I also want to mention the importance of the spiral as a feminine symbol, and I read in this book, The Great Cosmic Mother, how Vincha was one of the first civilizations on the Balkans before Egypt and Mesopotamia, and how the first, let's say, humans came from there, the oldest civilization. So it's very important, I think, today to honor this feminine, to go back to the matriarchal ways and to understand also the world through the lens of this energy, if you understand what I mean, and why we are such a big threat to the world, because truly some of the best scientists and gifts and knowledge and resources are located here. I come from Una River. Last year we were defending this river for 40 days from some investors like Illuminati who came from Saudi Arabia to build a mini hydro dam. And we stopped this. So there is this big greed today to again conquer the feminine and tame and deplete the resources. So I feel like we can only heal through this by honoring the earth, the women, the life, and where we came from, our roots. So have you been to Lepenski Mir, and what is your experience with that?
You mentioned several things. Talking about the female energy, male and the female, in a wider context, female energy, energy of emotions, energy of empathy, energy of love, male energy, self-confidence, strength. We need to spend our lives having those 2 energies in balance. If one energy is dominant, for example, female energy, perfect cases are sometimes our parents, when they tell us, oh, nobody wants to come and visit me, nobody takes care of me, nobody did. So what they do, they involve us in their movies and getting the energy from us. This is where female energy is dominant. Or when male energy is dominant, the energy of self-confidence becomes energy of strength and the power and control and manipulation. And that guy who I mentioned on Mondays, who's yelling, by yelling he's getting the energy from us. So as long as we have them in balance, then we are psychologically normal, balanced people. You mentioned Lepenski Vir and our areas. You see, one of the cradles of civilizations on this planet is our region. We still use the name for the peninsula, which is Turkish name, which was applied from German historians, and then it was forced to us by the French ruler, the emperor. I'm talking about Napoleon, and I'm talking about Balkan. Now we have another word which is much more proper, our word. It's called Hum. Hum. Hum means the same. In Slovenia, it's a hill, Hum. In Croatia, in Serbia, in Bosnia, in Bulgaria, Bulgarian, our brothers, Macedonia, Montenegro. So, mi smo zapravo Humsko poluostrvo. So, what was happening here? We are ideally located between Pannonia and Adriatic Sea, between the food and the food, between the sea. We have 4 seasons. And just in the last cycle of humanity, since the end of the last ice age, first man in Europe was our man, Lepenski Vir. You just mentioned it. Lepenski Vir, there were archaeological excavation. Just before they built another dam, Đerdap 1 and 2 by Titan Ceausescu, and they discovered 7 villages, 5 on Yugoslavian, today Serbian sides, and they took them back 11,500 years. Now that was the deep Mesolithic era, when huge catastrophes just finished. No people in Europe. The first people were our people on the river Danube, 11,500. Rhomboic, houses. First archaeoastronomy was our, Lepenski Vir. They built the village near the Danube River. Across is Romanian side, and there is a stone hill. And from the top of this village, when you look at the sunrise during the winter solstice, December 22nd, the sun is rising on the left side of this big stone, and then it disappears, and then it rises again. During the winter solstice, double sunrise. And people who lived near the river, they can see sun rising only once, exactly in the middle of the terrace on the top. What does it tell us? It tells us that the people who had master plan, where they're gonna locate their village, they located it just exactly there. They determined the height of the village based on double sunrise, and they determined the lowest point based on also one sunrise in the middle. It's called archaeoastronomy. We say those people were primitive. They were watching the sun, they had solar calendar, our people. The second culture in our area is called Starčevo culture. That's the first culture in Europe. The first agriculture in Europe, the name Starčevo is coming from Pančevo's village, but the core of the culture was Slavonia in Croatia. But it was big. It was going all the way to Czech Republic, Hungary, all our countries, Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia, Montenegro, Bulgaria, northern Greece. The first livestock breeding, our. The first homes, our homes. The rest of Europe, Germany, Spain, Italy, France, they were living literally in caves. Our people had houses. And then it comes the first civilization. It's called the Vinča civilization. If she goes to Google and she types Vinča civilization, she'll get no response. But if she types Vinča culture, oh yes, that was culture. That was not the culture. Culture is level below civilization. And why? Because the West does not want to admit that we had the first civilization in Europe. We, us, our people, our ancestors. Why I'm saying that? Surface, huge, third of Europe. Population, half of European population. First, metallurgy, our people were melting copper and gold. Houses, 20 to 80 square meters. Some of them, they had 2 floors. In Spain and UK, they lived in caves, and our people had houses. Vinča was the city at the mouth of rivers Sava and Danube. 2,800 people. We had cities near Kragujevac, 5,000. In western Bulgaria, 7,000 people. Then, not a single Vinča city had fortress around it. Why? Because they were so superior. They had no natural threat. Nobody could endanger them. But the moment barbarians from the east, Anatolia, north, Middle Europe, west, today's Italy, Germany, when they mastered metallurgy, they started making weaponry. And they were arming gangs, which they elegantly called armies. They started stealing from the others, which they elegantly called conquering. Who did they stealing from? From those who were the most advanced. Us, our ancestors. So they've been stealing from us for 5,000 years. And they continue doing that. They continue through ancient Roman times. You go to those faculty of archaeology and history. What they tell you about ancient Rome? Oh, ancient Rome brought us civilization and order and culture and architecture. Really? Well, we had our civilization before them. They were stealing from our ancestors. They were destroying our houses, urbicide. They were destroying our cultural heritage, culturalcide. And they were systematically killing our people, genocide, 2,000 years ago. That's what the ancient Rome really is. But unfortunately, our historians from Belgrade and Niš and Sarajevo and Zagreb and Ljubljana, they were educated in Vienna, in London, in Rome, in Berlin. They tell them the history books, and now they teach our kids the wrong history.
But this is our responsibility.
Of course it is. This is my responsibility and your responsibility.
Even now, with
When you come now to our park, with all the pavilions dedicated to Lepenski Vir and Starčevo and Vučedol and Vinča and Illyrian Pantheon. Illyrians, the Illyrians are not Albanians. We are Illyrians. From northern Italy, Veneti, Slovenia and Croatia, history. Illyrians. Liburni, Rijeka and south. Dalmati, Dalmatians, Illyrians. You know, Desidiates, Bosnia, Illyrians. Breuci, Sava, Illyrians. Tribals, Morava, Serbs, Illyrians. Thracians, Bulgarians, Illyrians. Dacians, Romanians, These are brothers. They changed our history. They are telling us we came in the 7th century, meaning everything before that does not belong to you. Wrong. It was ours. So we were doing those horrible things to our ancestors. So this is what we need to change. You know, we have saying in our language about the river Drina, which goes in meanders. So we are trying to straightening up this river Drina. And this is what we do here. Yes, this is what we are doing in a Bosnian pyramid district. Any more? All right, well, thank you very much for coming. I see you in Visoko.